Hello and welcome to my home. Today we're going to make a delicious pork chop recipe with balsamic vinegar and rosemary, but it's simple and I'm going to show you how. Don't let anyone tell you you can't cook. All you need are these simple recipes that I have. I also have on my channel gardening videos. If you want to learn more about container gardening, check out some of those videos as well. But for now, let's get on that pork chop recipe. Let's get started. For this recipe, you're going to need balsamic vinegar, pepper, salt, onion powder, garlic powder, oil, onions, mushrooms that are optional, rosemary, 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour, water, and of course your pork chops. Okay, I have my pork chops. I've washed them, I've patted them dry, and you do want to rinse off your meat. One thing is to freshen them up and sometimes they have a little sliminess to them or a little film that you want to get off of them. So I'm going to show you a little bit of trimming. Now these are not too bad, but I'm going to take off some of that fat that's on there because you really don't need all the extra fat. There is some little striations of fat that will help keep it moist and tender. I'm not going to bother that one. I'm just going to take out these outward layers of fat. So you just take your knife and just trim around it. Very simple. And you're just going to put that aside. I might get a little bit of that off. Get a little bit of this off. So I'm going to finish trimming up the rest of these and then I'll come back. So here's all the fat that I trimmed off. So that's a lot less fat going into our bodies. So I'm glad to get that off. So let me put that to the side. While I have my rosemary here, I'm going to show you just scrape it off. So the rosemary leaves are on a stem. So you just go up to the top, pull down. If it breaks, not a problem, and pull them off. And we're just going to give this a little chop. Remember, keep your fingers out the way. Sometimes you do this type of motion with your hands to keep your fingers out of the way. And you can also do a chop like that. Okay, so let's put this to the side and we're going to season our pork chops and get them floured up. Okay, I'm ready to start seasoning my pork chops. I've already seasoned the front side. Now I'm going to season the back side. So it's going to be onion powder, just sprinkling, just a few shakes. Here's the garlic powder. Some pepper. Some salt. Okay, so like I said, the other side is done already, as you can see. So now, the flour, we're going to go gently into the flour, just like that. Get it covered and set it aside. So you're going to do all your pork chops this way. So what's going to happen next is you're going to meet me over at the stove. Now I like this to double up on my flavors. So I'm going to add some more garlic powder and more onion powder, even though we've already seasoned it. And once I put it in the pan, I will season the other side. So that way we have twice the flavor on there. I'm not going to do the salt and pepper at this point. So the pan's getting hot. I put about a 1/4 cup of oil, and you're trying to cover the bottom of your pan as much as possible. And I suggest you use a non-stick pan as well. So I'm going to use my tongs because I want to be able to touch my herbs, and I don't want to cross-contaminate the bottles. So I'm going to use tongs. I'm going to turn up the heat just a little bit. Now you don't want this super hot, but you do want to get a nice saute going on here. So I turned it on the side that I seasoned already, and now I'm going in on the other side with some more garlic powder, some more onion powder. See, it's simple. It's just seasoning and your meat and flour. So you can hear it starting to sizzle. Yeah, look at that. It's starting to go now. I'm going to let that continue to cook, and then I'll come back when I flip it over on the other side. Okay, I think it's ready to be turned over on the other side. Let's take a peek. Yes. Look at that. Nice and brown. Oh, hold on to it. Let's check this one. Yep, nice and brown. That is really beautiful. Now we have to start layering in the next ingredients. So I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle that rosemary throughout the bottom of the pan. I'm going to sprinkle the onions just in little spaces that you find between the pork chops, on the outside of the pork chops. It is smelling mighty good. I'm adding the mushrooms. Now I do wash my mushrooms and I just squeeze them real good to get the excess water out. Okay. So you also want to check your pan to make sure it's not running dry, and you might need some more oil. I'm thinking I need some more oil, so I'm going to pour that in. Now I'm just using a regular vegetable oil, but you can use olive oil, canola oil. I'm just going to pour it in between the little spaces, get a little more oil on in there. That is smelling delicious. I'm starting to smell now the rosemary, the onions. It's starting to come together really good. Now if you want to, you could add some more salt. I'm thinking that the salt is okay for now. I'm going to wait until I get my sauce going, and then I'll taste it for the salt and also the pepper. But right now, I'm going to let this side finish cooking, and we'll be right back. My pork chops have been cooking, and they're brown on the other side. We're going to take these out and put the rest of the ingredients in and start making the sauce. Now don't worry if some of the crust comes off, that's okay, because we're going to be making a sauce and no one's going to really know, and these things happen when you're cooking. So I don't want you to be discouraged because everything's not super perfect. It's not going to be super perfect all the time, but it will be delicious. So we're going to take some balsamic vinegar and use this to kind of what they call glaze the pan. I'm pouring about 2 to 3 tablespoons in there, and see how the little bits come up, and you just stir it a little bit. I'm going to add the water. Now I have 24 ounces of water. I don't think I'm going to need all that water. Let me grab a spoon. I want to start getting that sauce ready, and it's going to thicken up because we have put flour on our pork chops, and that will give us a thicker sauce than what you're seeing right now as it cooks. And so now what I'm going to do is add back in the pork chops, pretty side up. Nobody's going to know that some crust came off. They'll be too busy talking about how delicious it is. Put that in there. Put the rest of your vegetables that may have come off with it. And I'm going to grab a lid. I'll be back. Okay, I think it's done. I did cover it for a little bit to get some more heat into the pork chops. Make sure they're done. Now you may wonder, how do I know they're done? Well, if you don't see any blood, and you can also kind of poke in between, but I know they're done. But another tip if you're new to cooking meat is get you a nice meat thermometer. There's plenty of them on the market. You can go online, Amazon, Walmart, anywhere you can find thermometers. This is a meat thermometer, and you simply stick it in and you measure it. Now don't stick it so far in that it's touching the hot oil, because that's not going to give you an accurate temperature of the meat. If you want an accurate temperature of the meat, you just kind of go in a little bit, because these pork chops are kind of thin, and it tells you the temperature. And most thermometers come with a meat guide to let you know what the doneness is for pork, for meat, fish, chicken. So that would be a help to you. You may want to invest in one of these. But let's get these pork chops out. Look at that. Yes. Nice. Delicious. Oh boy. Nice and brown. And now I'm going to go ahead and pour the sauce on it. So hang in there. And there she is. The pork chops, the gravy, a couple sprigs of rosemary to let everyone know you're serving them something special. Now that's some good eating. I'm going to go ahead and serve me up some, and I'll taste it for you. That's going to be the first bite. The first bite. Now you can see them. You can taste the seasoning. It's tender. Got a nice sauce. You can serve this with rice, with potatoes, any type of side vegetable that you want. This is the beginning of a good protein and starch meal, protein and vegetable meal. It is so delicious. I gotta get another bite. Get some of that mushroom. You definitely have to make this. Okay, so you know I do have a cabbage recipe that will go good with this. So check out my cabbage recipe. I'll put a link at the bottom. That's it for now. Bye bye.